Okay, so welcome everybody. So today is our second lab session as far as solution architect is concerned. I believe those of you who missed the first session on IAM, that is Identity and Access Management, have gone back to watch the videos, right? We are not going to do recaps because the videos are there so that, you can all go back to refer to it whenever the need be. So today we are going to look at EC2 instances, security VPC, sorry. We are going to look at EC2 instances, VPCs, and as well as SSH. So as I sent a message earlier, you will need to install PuTTY if you are on Windows 8 or below. So Windows 8, Windows 7, you will need to have PuTTY. But if you have Windows 10 and above, I think you should be okay with the SSH. But no matter what, even if you are using Windows 10 and you still don't have SSH, you can use PuTTY. And there is another option that we'll go into when we start the session. So first, per our outline, we are going to look at how to launch an EC2 Windows server. So Kai is going to take us through that. All right. So Kai, if you go on.
Okay. Yeah. Good evening, everyone. So as Isaac said, we are going to start with how to launch Windows Server on AWS. So for those who don't have accounts with AWS, you can equally launch it via your Canvas. You start the lab, then you click on the AWS button, then it opens into your AWS console. Okay. Sometimes you face challenges like this. You just log out, then you log in again. Okay, so we have our AWS console here, and let's try and launch the EC2 instance. So as usual, you can find the EC2 icon at your recently visited. That's if you've done it before, you would have it there. For those who don't have it there, you can equally click the services, then you go through, then you choose. You can also search it at the search bar by just typing EC2, which is the first one, virtual service in the cloud. So you click on it, then the EC2 interface loads. Okay, so we have here the EC2 interface. So to launch an EC2 instance, you can click on the launch instance. That's a bright orange button in the middle of the screen. So another interface pops open. Then the first, you have the name of your EC2 instance. Maybe you want to launch a web server. You want to host servers in your Windows IIS. So you can name the server by saying maybe web server. Then you scroll down. Then at the instance type, you see, because we are not paying, AWS gives us free tier. So we leave it as such. And you see, it gives us the T2 micro, which you have just one core of CPU. You have 1 GB of memory. And you come down
you
to
skip you skip the OS then images.
Yeah, I will come to them.
Okay.
You let me do it once and for all. Okay, so at the over here you can choose the operating system you prefer. So we have the Amazon Linux, we have the Mac OS, we have the Ubuntu, we have the Windows, we have SEALs, which is also a Linux platform. We have Debian, which is also Linux. Here we are going to choose Windows. Then when you click Windows, you can choose the various versions of Windows. With that, we also have the free tier and also the paid ones. So when I click on the arrow at the right side, you can see we have Microsoft Windows Server 2022 base. We have the core base, which is also free tier. We have the Server 2019, the core base also in 2016. So let's choose 2020 for now. Okay. Then we scroll down. Over here, we are going to create our key pair. So by creating a key pair, you just click on the create key pair button. Then you make sure it's at RSA encryption. And also the private key format, you choose the open SSH, which is the .pem. Then you click on the create key pair down there. So what is that? Sorry, what you have to do first is to name the key pair. So let's say
Harry, kindly mute your mic. Harry Senefia. Okay, thank you.
I've muted it. Okay. All right. So let's continue. Okay, so over here we are going to create our key pair. So you click on the key pair button, then we type the key pair name. So I'm going to name it as web server. Then RSA, then we will choose the format, which is OpenSSH. Then we scroll down, then we create the key pair. We are going to use the same key pair to generate the password in a few minutes. Okay. So what happens is that after you create the key pair, it downloads. I don't know if you guys can see. So when you go to your downloads, you find webserver.pem. So the key pair file is now on my machine or my laptop. So we scroll down. We won't get into the VPC and the network now because we are trying to create just the instance. Yeah. So allow RDP. RDP is the remote desktop protocol. It helps us connect into that particular the particular machine we are creating. Then there are other parameters, which is to allow HTTPS traffic from the internet. So we don't want any restrictions. So let's just click and open all this. Okay, so for the storage, the free tier, they give us 20 gigabytes. So we just leave it as such. Then after all this, you can come back to check if everything is right. If you feel like everything is okay, then you just click the launch instance. That's the orange button on the right side. So you click on the launch instance. You give it some time for it to launch the instance. Okay. So after the instance launches, you are being taken to a new page. That's a launch log page where you can see if you want to create an RDS database, if you want to create a snapshots, if you want to create load balancers of all that, if you want to create and connect another EC2 instance to this interface helps you. But you're not going to get into this. Now, what we are going to do is to try and log into this EC2 instance that we created via the remote desktop protocol. So we can go back to our instances. Okay, so as you can see, the third one is the instance we just launched, which is a web server. For now, we are not going to use this tool. So we can choose to just terminate them for now. So we'll wait for the web server to initialize. So let's wait and see. Okay. So whilst we wait for it to initialize, we can see the details of the EC2 instance that we just launched. We can see the instance ID, the public IP, which we are going to use to log in into the RDP. Then there is a private IP, and when you scroll down, you see the DNS name and other details. And at the security tab also, you find the IAM rule. We haven't assigned any IAM rule to this instance, so it's blank. We have the security groups. These ones are in the system already. You can also scroll to the networking side where you would find the public IP, the DNS and all that, the availability zone. Then also you can see the storage tab also. They attached an EBS to it with no optimization. Then there's the volume ID, then the device name, and also the gigabytes they give us. They give us 30 gigabytes, and it has been already attached. And the time attached is also here. There's no encryption. Hence, there was also no KMS key ID. And we have the status check. And you can see it's still initializing. So let's give it a few minutes. We also have the monitoring interface where you can see the CPU utilization. You can also check status check for failure also. There's a network, the bandwidth in and the bandwidth out, the network packets, and the disk read operations. It's basically like what do you call it? The tax manager, something similar to your tax manager, where you want to monitor your system's performance. Yeah, so this is basically what this is. Let's give it a few minutes. It should be done in, I think. And I think the last one is the tags also. Yeah, so we can tag this web server also for identification purposes, for if you want to, for billing and all that.
Refresh Amakusi.
Okay.
Right, I beg mute there.
Okay. So I think it's done now. So we can connect. But I think the recording stopped there.
Now you record.
The recording, okay.
Yeah.
Right. So we can continue. Okay.
The person will connect, no. Now it open for
okay. Okay. So the web server is now running, and also it has passed the two checks. So in order to connect into this web server, we click on it, then we come to connect. Connect is at the top side, close to the instance state. So when you click it, a new window opens. Then we have the session manager. We have the RDP client. So we are going to use the RDP client tab. So you click on the RDP client. So over here, you can see connection type is through RDP. Then you can see the username for the EC2 instance. By default, the username is administrator. So in order to get the password, you click on get password. Then you upload the key that we downloaded. Remember when we were creating the EC2 instance, it made us download the key file. So you click on upload key file. Then it goes to your download. You open your download folder. This is the key file, which is webserver.pl. Then you click on it. So this is the key file that's been uploaded. And this is the name of the key file that we downloaded is webserver.pl. So that's it. Then you scroll down, then you click on decrypt password. Immediately you click decrypt password, you can see your password pops up. So now we have the username, which is administrator, then we have the password. Okay. So now to log in into this particular Windows server, we would have to use remote desktop protocol. So you can go to your start menu or maybe your search menu. Let me reshare my screen so that it shows the whole screen rather than just the web, the browser. Okay. So I hope you guys can see the whole screen now. Okay. So we open RDP. So this is the RDP. Then we click on it. So immediately you click on it, there is computer. So over here, we are going to log in with the IP address that was assigned to us. That's the public IP, not a private. If you use a private, it won't work. So let's go back to the instances. And you click on the web server, and you can see the public IP address. So when you click on these two boxes, it automatically copies it. You can equally also highlight the whole IP address. But I find it that these two boxes is easier. So you just click on it. So when you click it, it copies onto your clipboard. Then you come to your RDP connection interface. Then you paste. Then you connect. So now what's going to happen is it's going to request for a username and a password. Usually by default, when you open your RDP, it uses your name, the name of on the machine, or the name you have, the username on the machine. Then it requests for a password. But here we are going to use administrator and password. So you go to more choices, then you click on use a different account. So the username and the password the section comes comes empty. So at the username, you can come back to the connect page, then use
Something happening, but don't worry about it. I'm listening.
I mean, I beg mute.
Okay. So we have the administrator here. So you can copy the administrator. You go back to your login tab, then you paste. Then also your password also. You copy by clicking on the two boxes. Then you paste also. So you can see the password is what we have on the EC2 instance also. Okay, so you just click on OK. Then it connects. So there's also a certificate page that pops up. Then you click on yes. And after some few seconds, we are logged in into our Microsoft Server EC2 instance. So it's personalizing the whole. For the free tier, Amazon gives us just 1 gig of RAM and only 1 core of CPU. So it's a little bit slow compared to the other paid instances. It's a little bit slow, but it works for study purposes, actually. But you can't use it for any proper thing. So we can see we are now in a virtual server, which is hosted on Amazon Web Services. So by default, you have an EC2 feedback link and also EC2 Microsoft guide. So when you click it, it takes you to the internet for you to give feedback and also to read your recycle bin. So this is just like a Windows server you have in your office, your IT department, in your business. That's basically it. So whatever you can do on a Windows server, you can do here. You can install web applications. You can host websites. You can do a whole lot. You see, so you can see this cloud computing thing it's something big. It's something big. This is free tier. I haven't paid for anything, and in less than 10 minutes, I've been able to launch a server. So you can imagine if this service was not available and you want to deploy an application, you now have to go to the market, go and buy servers, you come and rack them, you buy, what do you call it, switch, you buy routers, you go to Vodafone, get a very good ISP service, maybe you do port forwarding or maybe IP address, you get another server for the VPN, where the server is, you need the backup generator, you need a UPS, you need air conditioning, you need what do you call it? A lock. Sometimes they use this biometric lock where not everyone can access the server room. You need to buy a monitor, you need to buy a keyboard for the server, and all that. Security 24/7. You make sure there's always diesel or petrol in the generator. All this stress. Amazon says, no, let's do that for you. And sit wherever you are, get some 2 gig, Tigo, Vodafone, and do all that in a few minutes, like magic. Yeah, so basically that's it. If anyone has a question, he or she can come forward with it. Any question?
Hi, good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
Yeah, I'm Philip. I would like to know if the recording will be made available and through which medium.
Okay. I think Isaac would be able to answer that. Isaac. Okay. So before we started the meeting, he said that when we are done, sometimes because of stress, before we are done, people doze off. So usually after we are done, we share the link to the video on the platform. So don't worry, when we are done, we'll get the recorded version here.
All right, thank you. But I'm following though.
Yes,
Yeah,
Mr.
yeah.
Philip. So sorry, I had to go off for some. Yeah, so we'll make the link available, right? But the goal
Okay,
is
thanks.
to also get a lot of people to understand.
Sure. I'm on. I'm
You know, to
still
kindly
on.
mute, eh? Yeah, sure. Because we really want to also let people get to, have the thought that, oh, the link will be shared later, so I'll watch later. The truth is that a lot of people don't watch after you give them the link. You get it? Because after a session is over and then you are alone going to sit down to watch, it's kind of a little difficult, So we'll make the links available. So for the previous sessions link, we'll share it again before we end this meeting in the group chats. And then in the next one, we might probably also share it midway into the meeting or prior to starting of the meeting so that you watch and then have a recap.
Okay, thank you. Just that I got lost at a point, so that's why I ordered to.
Oh, okay. But you could have just no problem. So this is to all of us. If there is a presentation and then there is some part that you don't understand or you would want the person to go over again, kindly prompt us so that it will go over, because we are doing it for all of us, right? So that we'll go over before we move on. I think that way it helps. And then even if you are rewatching the video, you are able to ask like specific questions other than general questions. You get it? Because somebody might come and then come and ask that where would they locate the EC2 service, which is not a question that I believe that nobody should ask, or nobody would ask if they've really like either joined the session or rewatch the videos. So you get what I'm trying to say.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, I think you want to explain the specs and then all those things that is on
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. So you can equally explore. So as you can see, we have the device name. Amazon named it themselves, which is EC2 Amazon dash M whatever. Then we have the processor, which is Intel Xeon E5. Also, they give us only 1 gig RAM because they are using a free tier, and we have other specifications. So you can see this Windows Server 2022 data center. Then the version number is 21H2, and it was installed today. The OS built, yeah. So basically, this is how it is. Let me also run DSDR. Let's see if we can get more details. Okay. So DSDR, we have some of the other details that we just the system model also. The HVM. I think Isaac.
Yeah, okay.
The HVM. Do you remember the meaning?
Uh,
Hyper something.
yeah, I've forgotten.
Yeah, hyper something. Yeah, then also the BIOS version, then the 1 gig as usual. For the display, also we have some details. So basically, it's just like your in-house server, Microsoft server. It has all the features. It has everything. So you can imagine, maybe you want to
So
launch.
the HVMB, I mean, I think hardware virtual machine.
Yes, exactly. You see, and they gave us 30 gig. But unfortunately, the Windows installation has taken half. When you open it, you see program files, the user, the Windows files, all of that. You have it here. And there's also a 64-bit operating system. So you have your pictures, you have your downloads. You can even browse. I don't know if you noticed when I screenshot. I tried to test how fast the internet within this Microsoft server is, and I got about 33 point something megabytes download, and I got 500 and something megabytes upload. Yeah. So it's not that it doesn't have that high specs, so it's not that fast. But for learning sake or for study sake, I think you can use it to explore. So I think if there's no more questions, I think we can move on to the VPC and then
Sure,
also
sure.
the
Linux.
Linux.
Yeah.
Yeah, are we going to use Amazon Linux or we are going to use Ubuntu?
No, we use Amazon Linux.
Okay, all
Yeah,
right.
we use
Okay.
Amazon.
So I'll stop sharing. Then Isaac, you can take on from here.
All right, sure. Okay, so right away. So I think for me, I have to share all my screen so that everybody sees what I'm doing. Please, can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. So first things first, before you start using your AWS service, or I mean, as far as we are in a free tier, I'm using an account, right? I'm not accessing it through the canvas. So there is something that I would want to I would want to do first. So we'll look at budget, a sneak peek into AWS budget, right? We'll have to set some few limitations so that we wouldn't cross our free tier threshold. So I'll set a billing alert. Justice, yeah, I searched the HBMB this hardware virtual machine. I actually said it according to AWS. So if you remember when we were doing the IAM, we set certain I set certain permissions, right? I created a user and then we gave it some permissions and then all that. Even though I gave it an administrative permission or administrator permission, the billing, as far as cost is concerned, that permission wasn't granted to the user that I created. Don't worry that you are seeing Isaac. I know the user I created was on Henny, but I had to remove it because it was a recorded session. Everything, the password and everything was bare, right? And there was no MFA. So I had to, after the session, I had to delete all the user. Oh, okay, yes, that's fine. I had to delete the user that I used for the demonstration and then create a new one altogether, right? And this one has a MFA. So what we have to do here is that we will have to go to our root account and then give an IAM access to the billing. So billing is mostly sent to the root account or the master account, right? So it is a permission on its own. So I have to go to my root account, and this, so you can see the difference. You see my root account just has the alias, and the IAM user has what? The username at an alias, right? So I'll go to my user and then I'll click. So this is what you do. You click on the username and then you click on account. Great. So in account, I'll scroll down just after the AWS region. So this is where you also enable or disable regions, right? You know, there are some regions are disabled by default. So you can, if you want any specific region, you can enable them from here. You can just select it and then you go to enable, right? If it is enabled, you want to disable it, and you can just click on disable and then it will be disabled. We are not looking at that. So you can see IAM user and role access to billing information. So you can see that it is deactivated. So you will go to edit and then I will activate IAM access. So what I have to do is now go to my IAM user, just refresh this page, and you can see that the page is going to open for me. So here it shows my billing dashboard, and you can see my just a summary of what I've done so far. So total number of services that I've used is 7. The total number of active AWS regions is 6. Here is just saying that the region that we have explored so far, and as far as I can remember, I've explored Cape Town, that is South Africa. I've explored France. I've explored Frankfurt. I've explored Stockholm. I've explored Virginia and then all that. So I think together, and you're able to also see your cost by service, right? This is my EC2. I think I left it on for quite an hour. I mean, like an appreciable amount of time, but that is not like today, the previous. So this is just a sneak peek into your cost. You are able to also go to bills, and here you are able to investigate which of the services that is actually like costing you money. So currently my current month is 0. I've not used any paid services, right? And you can also come down to come and see what is happening, like as to, so these are stuff that I've used. CloudWatch, I've used CloudWatch. So you can see the regions that I've used in Paris and then US East. I've done some data transfer in Cape Town, Paris, and then Stockholm. I've used EC2, but all these didn't cost me money. So what I'm coming to do here is set budgets. I think I have the budget already here, so I'll just delete them and then start them again. So what I will do is I will do what? A 0 spend budget, and I'll do a monthly cost budget, right? I will delete it so that we all do it again. Good. So in budget, I just go to create budget. I'll use a template, and then you can also customize it anyway. You can also use a customized one where you cost budget, usage budget, savings plans budget, and then reservation. So that's the more reason why we're having confusion as to which AWS service will send us alert when we are crossing our usage limit and then all those things, because budget is also able to do that. So most of the times, as I said, for me, the question I got, I was given the opportunity to select two. Okay, Harry, sorry, I'll slow down. I was given the opportunity to select two options. So it was budget and then what's it called? CloudWatch alarms. So yes, I'll choose a template and then I'll choose a zero spend budget. The name, I'll leave it. And then your email, you can just input your email here. So my email is at using this thing again, right? As example.com. So what it means is that if I use a service that costs me more than my zero spend, it will send me an alert via email, right? So I think this is okay. Zero spend, it means that zero spend. So it said you'll be notified via email when any spend is above 0.01 is incurred. So I'll create the budget and my budget is created. I'll create a monthly budget and here I'll do a monthly cost budget and my budget is 10 USD, right? My email, I'll do great. So here I'll also be notified when my actual spend reaches 85%. And then my actual spend also reaches 100%. And then if the forecast spend is also expected to reach 100%, that is if the forecast is expected to reach 10 USD, right? So I'll create this budget as well. So now I've set my billing alarm and then I am good to go, right? So this is just something to be, to just prompt some proactiveness so that I don't get to overspend, because it's just for steady purposes. So the next thing we are going to do is to launch our EC2, but this time is what? A Linux server. Okay, so first of all, let's look at a VPC before we even do an EC2 server, right? So first we are going to create a virtual private cloud. So VPC from CCP. Right now we are all certified cloud practitioners. So most of the things we will not go deeper because these sessions are for lab sessions, right? From CCP, we understood that VPC is we allocating or kind of having an isolated an isolated section of the Amazon cloud, right? So it's a very big land, and then we just buy a portion or we just create a portion for just ourselves, right? So we'll create a VPC to where we'll put all our stuff in there. However, we could have just went ahead to create our EC2 instances, and then Amazon will automatically put them in a VPC for us, right? But here we are going to create our own VPC. So we'll go to the VPC services. You can search from here, search for VPC, and then we are going to create it from the dashboard. I don't recommend you creating everything one after the other. Yes, it is a good process of learning, but first you will have to understand how they work, right? You have to understand the things that is needed for your VPC so that you'll be able to create them one after the other, because you first have to create your VPC and then now create your subnets. After you create your subnets, I think when you create your subnet, route tables are already are created for you automatically, right? And then you now create a gateway and then attach it to your public subnet. You now have to create a lot of things and then you link them together. So even AWS recommends that you use the VPC creation wizard. So what you do is if you click here and then you go to create VPC, it will only create a VPC. You have to create all the other components yourself. So you go to VPC dashboard, right? And then you create it from here. Here, it will launch using the server, right? And here we are not creating VPC only, we are creating VPC and more. So this is our architecture here. We'll customize it, right? So I'm in the Paris region, right? So it has what's it called? 2 availability zones or 2 AZs, right? And then there is a public, a private, there is either a public and then a private subnet in both regions. So let me look at what I'm seeing here. So the name auto generates, but I'll do tests VPC. And then here's our CIDR block. Here we are saying that we are giving it a CIDR block of what, 16, which literally means that we are using the first 2 octets, right, for the entire network, and then the last 2 spread across the, this is used for the network address, and then this one spread across the entire network. So we can go from 10.0.1.0 up to 10.0.255.255. So it gives us like 65,000 plus of IP addresses. And yes, we are not using an IPv6 CIDR block. We are only using the IPv4, right? And then the number of availability zones. So that is why we are having it here. So if I select 1, you can see that I only have 1 availability zone here. If I select 2, we are going to have 2 availability zones here. So for this one, let's just use 1 availability zone, right? But for you to have a highly available network, it is recommended that you have 2 availability zones. This will not cost us any money, but for studies purposes, we just use 1 availability zone. Number of public subnets, we want 1. Number of private subnets, we want 1. And then here we'll customize the CIDR blocks, right? So our network is what, 10.0.1.0.0.0. So our public subnets, we want it to start from 10.0.1/16, right? No, that's too much. So let's look at 24. Yes, so we have 256 worth of IP addresses for the public subnet. And then we also do 10.0.2/24. Okay, so out of the 65,000 plus, we are using 256 for the public subnet, when we are using another 256 for the private subnet, right? So what I'm doing here is this. So I'm saying that use this for the network address, and then use this for the rest of the subnet. Oh shoot, I've messed this thing up. 1.0/24. Great, right? And then that's the same thing that I'm saying here. So we can go from 10.0.2.1 up to 10.0.2.255, and then we can go here. We can go from 10.0.1.1 up to 0.255, and then we know that we are aware that we are not going to have AWS also uses like 5 addresses for other stuff. This one was also explained in the CCP. So in case you have forgotten, you can go back to the note and then know what AWS uses those 5 IPs for, like what they use it for, right? So our NAT gateway, we have only 1 availability zone, so we just attach it to 1 availability zone, right? But if you have 2 availability zones, you could have just said, say, the NAT gateway should be in each AZ, so 1 per AZ, right? So the private subnet will have its own in availability zone 2, and the public subnet will also have in each availability zone. Great. We will not have any endpoint. So we know endpoints to be kind of a connection point for other services. So talk of S3, right? stuff that cannot be directly attached to an EC2. We can have endpoints so that we use that to attach those services. Yes, we will enable DNS host names and also enable DNS solution. If I am fast, sorry, but I think this one is also in the CCP level. These are CCP labs. So we can preview our VPC to see. So this is our main VPC. Our subnet is in one availability zone, a public subnet, and then a private subnet. The route tables, there is a public route table, and there is a private route table. And there is an internet gateway that is attached to the public subnet, right? And then there is a NAT gateway. This will enable internet connection, right? So that the NAT gateway can also be able to, the private subnet can be able to access resources also via the internet. But this is only for outbound traffic, not inbound traffic. So nobody can access stuff in the private subnet. It's just you that can access stuff outside there. So it's for outbound traffic alone. So here we'll click on create VPC. So as I said, when you are creating your VPC, these are the procedures that you have to actually go through, right? So you create your VPC and then enable host names, and you come and create the subnet, right? You create your two subnets, your public and then your private subnet, and then you now have to create an internet gateway. So here shows you the process that you go through in creating it. If you are creating everything manually, you create an internet gateway, you attach the gateway to the VPC, and then you now come and create a route table, right? You create a public route table, you create a private route table, and then now you associate the route table with the various route tables with their respective subnets. And then you now create an elastic IP. Okay, you create an elastic IP and then attach the elastic IP to the VPC. You cannot leave an elastic IP unused. You pay dearly for it, right? And then you now create a NAT gateway and you attach it also to the private subnet, right? So those are the processes that you go through to create like manually create a VPC. So wait for it. It takes some time, but we'll wait for it to finish. Now it has created a NAT gateway. It is activating it, and then it will create another route table and then associate it. So here it will create routes, right? The target and then the destination. We explained this thing also in the CCP. The videos are there. You can go back to go and watch. I think is in one of the summary notes also. Right, so it will create route, your destination, and then your target route, and put them in the route table so that it will enable the communication. So these are stuff that actually go on in the background. But if you are creating if you are manually creating every component of your VPC by yourself, these are the stuff that you have to go through. Okay, so now the VPC is done. Now view VPC. So we'll go to security groups. So now that you have created the VPC, we'll also look at so let's just even look at the resource map. So you can see there is a route table for the VPC itself, right? And this is to enable communication to the internet. And these are the private and then the public, what's it called? So it is a route table for the internet gateway, right? And then this is the private and then the public VPC. So you can also review this thing here. So now we have to create a security group to enable inbound traffic, right? So by default, AWS denies inbound traffic, and we have to do it ourselves. That okay, allow traffic to access our public subnet. So we have to go to security groups. And then we'll create an inbound traffic. I'm trying to see if I created these things earlier. So let me delete these ones. There should be a default one in there. Delete. okay, they will not be deleted. Probably it's associated with something that I haven't deleted. Okay, so I'll just create a new one. So I'll say test SG, right? And this one will allow inbound traffic. Okay, this one is going to allow inbound traffic. And for the VPC that we are associating this security group to is the test VPC that we created. So outbound is there by default, so we are allowing all traffic anywhere, right? So we also allow inbound traffic, and since we don't want any restriction, we'll allow HTTPS from anywhere, and we'll allow HTTP from anywhere. I might also want to add that you can just type here, right? So 0.0 like that here, and then it will just pick, or you can just click it from here. The same thing, you can choose not to actually select from here. You can just come and type TCP, or you can just come and type the port range, and then you'll be okay. So we don't want any restriction, so we are allowing those two traffic, right, into our VPC. Okay, so our security group is created. Great. So now we can go and create our EC2 instance. Please, any question on the VPC bit? Okay, so now we are coming to launch our EC2 server into our VPC, right? So as Okan did his, we can just create it, right, without even putting it into a VPC. We can just create a security group and then attach to it and then we are good to go, right? We can just create a security group and then define the rules, and then we allow it, we let it go. But then the VPC is just to give you some bit of let me say isolation or privacy, right? To launch our instance, so here we'll also say test instance, right? Okay, so this is a test instance, and then we are going to use Amazon Linux, and then the machine image is Amazon Linux 2023. The architecture is a 64-bit x86, and the instance type is what, T2 micro, which is within the free tier. Key pair, we'll create a key pair. I already have a key pair, right? But this one is on another PC, so I'll create a new one, right? So here you choose RSA, and you can recall that when it was Windows, this one was faded out, right? It was faded out, but then it is always recommended that you use the RSA encrypted private and public key pair. And as I said earlier, if you are using Windows 8 and below, use the PPK, and this is for use with PuTTY. And then if you have Windows 10 and above, you can use the .pem. And also if you are using Linux or Mac OS, you can use the PEM. PPK is just for PuTTY, right? So, or I think any other SSH software that you can use. So we click on create key. Yeah, sorry. So I'll create my key pair name. So test, and when you are giving your key pair name, make sure you don't have a space, right? So test instance key pair. So I'll just do test instance KP. All right, and then create. So when you create it, will download. I'll put this one on my desktop like that, so that I will be able to just easily locate it. Great. So for network settings, I'll edit it. Normally it wasn't needed, right? If you just chose to put it, I mean, just launch it, you could, but just to cover the topic of VPC. That's why we created a VPC. So we'll create a VPC. So we'll put it into the VPC, and you have to make sure that your server is in the public subnet. If you put it in the private, then ENFA, right? People will not be able to access it. Okay. And we'll enable auto assign public IP. And here we'll create another, no, so let's even just leave it. We want another security rule. Okay. So we have a security group or a security group that is attached to our VPC that is enabling inbound traffic into our VPC. Okay. And we'll have to we have to create another security rule. The reason why I didn't add that rule to our first security group is that the best practice is to create a separate security group that allows SSH traffic. You get it? But yes, I could have just added that rule to my security group. But it is best practice that you have a separate security group or rule that just allow SSH traffic. So here I will just allow SSH traffic for this security group, and then that will also be attached to the instance. Okay. So yes, enable SSH through the TCP protocol, and then a port range of 22. So it will create the launch wizard one. That's automatic. I will not do anything to it. I will just leave it like that. Okay. And then for storage, this is our storage. And the next thing that we need to do is to go to advanced details. And here we are not doing a spot instance. So what we'll do is for user data, in the lab sessions, we are creating a web server. So we'll have to let it do some stuff at boot. We call it bootstrapping. So bootstrapping is just you assigning certain operations to your image or your operation installations that will start before when the boot process starts, right? So when it is done, but it will only be run once for the first time when the OS is being started up. So we'll have a user data here. So I've downloaded some codes, and I think what is it? EC2 and then user data. This code you can just type it, all right? You can just type it. If you have any it was saved as a .sh file. So if you have software like VS Code, you'll be able to open it, or Notepad++. You can open it and then read the text in it and then just copy and paste. Right? And what this code is just doing is that, okay, so when you start, just run this code, this command to update some stuff in my OS, and then now install the HTTPD, start and then enable the HTTPD server, right? This will enable us to be able to enable our web server to run, the Apache server to run. And then this is just a sample code to run to open our first website, right? This one, don't mind this one. It was Stefan who wrote this. I think this will just capture the host name and then its IP address. But you can even just remove all this, right? You can just remove all this. And then we'll say, oh, hello from my first instance or something. So just don't mind this, okay? All right, so once we are set, we'll just go back to review if we are okay with everything. So our name is set. Yes, so tags. You can also tag it, right? So I'm okay with the name, but I can just add another one. Let's say so key pair is what? Purpose. Right? We can say purpose, and then we'll say for studies. Right? So as you see, purpose and then use studies or something, right? So there's just as it is. So it's just to, as I said, resource tagging is just for you to organize your resources well, right? As far as the cloud is concerned. Okay, so this one is also allowing SSH. So we are good to go. Allow tags in metadata. Okay, so that's fine. And then we'll launch our instance. Great. So here there are other things we kind of talked about. These ones to view all instances. Great. So whilst our instance is running, let me refresh. Fresh. I want it to go to running mode. Then we'll get okay. Great. So it's in the running mode. Currently, it's doing its bootstrapping. We can check out certain details about it. So this is the unique ID for the instance. This is a public IP that we use to SSH. So with the Windows, you connect via RDP, right? And then with the Linux, you connect via SSH, right? So this is the public IP address that we use, and this is the private IP address. This is the public DNS address. This is a private DNS name, right? The instance type, that is T2 micro. We don't have an elastic IP attached to there. Okay, you go fit talk.
Okay. Is there a way to access your Linux server visually? You see, RDP allows you to view your dashboard and work within the Windows operating system. Linux, do you have something? Is something similar, or you always have to access it via the SSH?
Yeah, for now, I think it just the SSH. Even when you do the connect, the instance connect, just as you did for the Windows, it's just the SSH or the session manager.
So it's very important for us to learn at least basics of Linux.
Yeah, so yes, you have to actually like learn some basic Linux codes, right? Because as far as cloud computing is concerned, you have to learn some basic Linux commands. You know, how to switch, change directory, how to like all those those basic things that you do on a Windows environment, right? Creating folders, creating users, all those switching roles, and then all that. This is also our key pair, and I think yes, that's just about it. Okay, so our server has passed the 2 out of 2 checks. We can check the public IP v4 address to see what we have. And anybody that can access what's it called? Okay, so so you can see that it is in the infinite loading something. So it's not loading, right? Okay, great. So the site cannot be reached. What might be the problem? Can somebody tell me? I left something out when I was creating the instance. Okay, so let me so we go to security groups, right? So we can see that we had a security group that was allowing what? HTTP traffic, right? Sorry, SSH traffic. And let me go to my VPC. I should be able to even access the VPC. So let me go to the details. No, let me go to networking. And let's look at the VPC. Great. So for this VPC, I want to check my security group. Where do I even find it? Let me go to security groups. Great. Inbound rules. Great. So for this security group, I enabled what? HTTP. I enabled HTTPS as well. But this one is allowing traffic to enter the VPC. You get it? So the traffic is just coming into the VPC. But now I have another security group, right? I have another security group that is just outside the instance, right? After the VPC, there is another security group or a security that is just by the instance or before the instance. So I will have to also enable an inbound rule for that so that the server can be reached, right? But before that, you will also have to check where the instance is actually at. Is it at the public subnet or is at the private subnet? Okay, and then we can be sure that it is at the public subnet. So let's go to the security, and I'll open the security group, and I'll create another inbound rule to allow that traffic. Know that we are not using a load balancer. If we are using a load balancer, we could have just routed the traffic that, okay, as far as the traffic is coming from the load balancer, it should be able to enable that inbound traffic. But since we are not using any load balancer, it means that we have to also specify these rules for the security group that is attached directly to the EC2 instance. So I'll edit this and add rule HTTP anywhere, add rule HTTPS anywhere. Great. And then I'll save the rule. Great. Now let's reload this page, and then boom, we have our page opened. So it means that unless in a situation where you are using a load balancer, even though we have not got into load balancer, but let me explain. So for a load balancer, we can say that, okay, you be at the center of everything, right? So I'll attach this load balancer to my instance. And then the security rule that I will set is that, okay, allow inbound traffic. So let me even go here. I don't have a load balancer, so it will not come. But I can say, okay, allow what's it called? HTTP. Okay. And then from here, I can choose my IP, or I can just come here and you can see that there is a security group. So if I have load balancers configured, I will see load balancers here, and then I'll just select. So you can even direct or refer a security group to another security group, right? So for this, let me see for this rule. So instead of adding another rule, right? Let me cancel this. What rule is this? Yes. So for the test security group, no. So let me go to the launch. Oh, great. So what I can say is that instead of attaching these HTTP rules directly, I will say, okay, custom TCP, and then I will refer it to this security group, right? So I will say allow HTTP instead of just stating them one after the other, right? Let me refresh this and see if we will still be able to access it. Okay, it is not. I have to specify the port numbers. Edit. Sorry, launch wizard 1, right? And then edit inbound rules. Okay, so the ports 80 and HTTP and refer to this security group. And I'll add another one, HTTPS, great. And then this security group. Okay, so let me save it, reload. Should be able to connect without any problems. Wow, still. Anyway, I don't know why, but I tried it this afternoon and it worked. Maybe I'm missing something, but you can just refer one security group to another, and then it should be able to work without any issue. Okay, so let me save this rule. Maybe because I'm trying to go fast, that's why I'm missing something. So let me specify this anywhere and allow HTTPS anywhere, save. Okay. But as I said, you can just refer one security group to another security group, and that should work fine. I'm trying to figure out what I'm missing. So within the course, if I just remember, I'll go back to it and then we'll look at it. But you can just say that, okay, allow traffic that is coming from this security group into my EC2 instance or into my web server, and it should be fine. You don't have to like explicitly define every rule after the other, right? So that is for our EC2 and then our security group rules definition. So here I can choose to add any other thing at all, any other traffic at all. So if people are accessing my stuff or my web server or my web application via an IPv6 address, they can also do that. I just have to edit my inbound rules and then add that. So instead of choosing maybe anywhere IPv4, I can say anywhere IPv6. Please, are we clear on that? Now, just as we connected to our EC2 instance via RDP on the Windows version, we can also connect to our EC2 instance or our web server via SSH. So with Linux, you connect via SSH. SSH is just secure shell, right? So with our Windows, we use RDP, but on Linux, you use what? SSH. So here I can just select the instance like this, and then I'll go to connect. Okay, so you can see instance connect, you can see session manager. So here you connect to the instance without the SSH key. So if you remember, there was a question that how are you able to connect to your Linux operating system without opening an SSH session or SSH port? So that is the session manager, right? You can use an SSH client. Here you have your all those stuff that you would want to. So here it even gives you the command that you have to enter, right? So this is if you are using Linux, right? These are the commands that you first have to enter. You have to make sure that there are permissions. You are the only one that has like full permission over the key file. So if you can remember, this is the key pair that I created for the instance, right? And then this is the public DNS. You can also connect via the public IPv4 address. And there's also an EC2 serial code which I don't know about, but we are going to use the instance connect. And here you see for the RDP, the username was what? Administrator, right? That is what it automatically creates for the Windows. And for Linux, the username that it creates is what? EC2, because since we are using the Amazon Linux 2, right? The Linux 2023. So it creates what? an EC2 user for us. So here you just connect, and then it will open an SSH. So this is just like a web version. So anything that you can do via SSH, you can do via PuTTY. You can also do it here. Okay, so here I can type some commands. What command am I even typing? Okay, so we can just even do a ping google.com, and you can see that. So here I'm just checking the Google, like if the Google is working or Google is online, right? So I can just press Ctrl+C, and I can do ls to see. Let me do pwd, the directory that I am in. So I'm in the home EC2 user folder, right? So I can just make so these are Linux commands that you can learn. So make directory, and the directory name, tests, right? So let me see ls. So you can see the directory. This is a folder, the folder that I created. So I can also do echo. So these are commands that are Linux commands. Hey, my keyboard. These are Linux commands that I'm just trying to type, right? So this is a test. Okay, so it's just like you right-clicking on your Windows desktop and then saying that create a text file, right? And then put it into tests, right? And then name it tests.txt. Okay, so I'll cut test.txt, and then so this is what a test. So I can remove, so rm, sorry, I can remove the file, and if I ls test, you can see there is no file in there, right? So these are just like normal Linux commands that you can enter into your server. Okay, so I can exit, and I can just close this. So let's see how you can also connect via SSH if you don't want to use the. So here I will use the PowerShell utility. You can also use command prompt if you have command prompt. And to test that I have SSH, I'll just type SSH, and let me see the response that will come. So with the response, then I'll get to know that I have SSH installed, right? So okay, so I don't have SSH. Wow. So let me look at my command prompt. Should have installed this before. I thought I had. So why is my PowerShell not have it anyway? So I have SSH because I am on Windows 11, so I should have, right? So I have SSH. So here, just as this instruction gave us, you don't have to hassle your head, right? Just as this instruction gave us, I will skip this and I will come to this. So the command to actually connect via SSH is SSH/I and then the key file. So first, let me look at the directory that I'm in. So pwd, also cd dot and parent working directory. Where? What is happening? Anyway, let me just go and use putty. So putty. Good. All right. But it means that I'll have to, let me install putty again. There is something about putty that I need to install. So install putty. There's an application called puttygen. I will have to convert the PEM file that I downloaded to a PPK file. All right. Download the latest version. But then if any of the methods doesn't work for you, you can just go and use the instance connect. It's the same thing. All the Linux commands that you enter is going to work, right? But you might want to have an external application or an external way of connecting it to it. So supposing you don't have your PC by you and all you have is someone's PC, then you can just use the, right? You want to view the README file. Okay, so right. So this is the Puttygen app. And I'll load the file. Go to all. Yeah. Okay, so I've successfully imported. And then I'll now save private key. Instance. Save. So we have to also make sure that it is the RSA is selected, right? So I have my private key saved. Now I can close this and now open Putty. The application. Oh shoot. Putty. Wait. So what is our host name? The host name is the EC2 instance. So I'll go to the details. I'll copy this. And our host name is EC2 minus user at the host name, right? Just this. And we'll save this session as EC2. So the reason why you would want to save the session is that you don't have to go through all these steps again, right? So you just have to, you save the session here. So the next thing is to navigate to SSH and then auth. And credentials. Sorry. And yes, and then we accept. Not supported public key. Wow. SSH auth. Be authenticated key on it. All my SSH methods are failing me here. I don't know what is wrong. I just wanted us to do this and the connection session. Load.
The port is okay, the port number.
Yeah, the port number be okay. No, when I come here, I should be able to have an option to load the key. Aha, but the option no there.
Go credentials mode. And you see the private key file.
Okay.
So you browse.
And okay, so the PPK file. But from here, don't move on. Come back to the session and then save the settings, right? And then you open. Great. And then we have our SSH open. So here we can also do the same command and ls. So you can see that the file test that I created in the instance connect session is also here. You can see that it is here, right? So that is the beauty of it. And I think I can even connect the two at the same time. Let me see. I'll create another directory and then we'll see that if you can see it in the other one. pwd ls, you can see we have it. So I'll create another make directory second. Okay, so I'll come and do ls putty, and you can see that the second file is what is here. So now I'll remove the test file. Oh, it's a directory, sorry. So I have to do a remove directory. All right. Great. And then I will come and do my ls here to see if I'll see. You can see that the test file is also what? It's also deleted. Now another, I think the last thing that we'll look at is the rules, right? So one thing about the beauty of this thing, the whole cloud thing, is that you are able to give certain permissions to certain services to access certain stuff, right? So let's say if you want an EC2 instance to write files or to write into S3 buckets, right? You can give it that permission to do that, right? So most of the time you can also give an EC2 an IAM role. So most of the times you can do like AWS IAM and then list user. Okay. So the beauty of the instance connect is that I did list user. The beauty of instance connect is that it comes with it comes pre-installed with the AWS CLI, right? So you can be able to do all that you would want to do with your AWS CLI. Right, so list users, and it says what? Unable to locate credentials. You can configure credentials by running AWS configure. So let me clear the screen. Let me do it again. AWS IAM list and then users. And he said what? We can configure credentials by running AWS configure. So most of the time you can just do AWS configure, right? And then you indicate your access key. That's your public access key, your secret access key, just as we did in the IAM the identity and access management. You can also do the same here, right? And then you type your default region and then your output format, and then you are good to go. But this is not a good practice, okay? Because when you do this, it means that anybody at all on this AWS account can be able to log in into this EC2 instance and will be able to retrieve all these credentials. It's just more or less like creating a user account for the EC2 instance to do whatever they have to do. So if you can recall, in IAM, we looked at what? IAM roles, right? So here, I will not want to close this one. So I will have to go to my IAM, right? And then define a role, because we just want the EC2 instance to be able to just read the records of the users that are in my account, right? So what I can do is I'll go to IAM and then I will create a role for, so this is the EC2 role that we created. So let's look at the rule. So the permission was what? IAM read only access, right? The permission was IAM read only access. So what we can do is to give this role, okay, assign this role to the EC2 instance. Please, I hope we understand what I'm trying to say. Okay, let's move on. So since I have this role here, the EC2 role here, I'll go to my instances, and I'll select the instance, go to actions, security. Great. And then we'll go to what? Modify IAM role. And then what role are we using? The role that we created here is here. So update. And now our EC2 has been attached an IAM role. So now let's do AWS IAM list users, and within a few minutes I'm able to see what's the user list. So I can also say, who am I? And I'm what? An EC2 user. Okay, so that's basically about it. So if I want to give it a write access, then I'll have to go to the rows here and then add what? IAM, maybe IAM list users, IAM do this, IAM do that. If it's not an IAM, but it has to do maybe a put or get kind of role, then I'll assign this to it as well. So what it means is that immediately it does this. So immediately I list this user, it is this role or position will be taken from the EC2. So anytime I would want to do it, it has to assume that role and then perform that action, and then immediately the action is performed, that role is also taken from the resource or the instance. So that's basically about EC2. So we looked at the Windows version, we looked at the creating VPCs, and then with subnet, we looked at creating security groups. I've still not remembered what I have to do on the security group. But I think, as I said, the right thing was to, first we have to have a load balancer, and then the load balancer, one security group, the load balancer now refers to the security group and then now brings it to the EC2 instance. I think it doesn't have to be done directly, but I'll still look at it in our next lesson. I'll clarify that before we move on to another thing. So that is basically about it. So it is always recommended that you have a security group. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, Isaac.
Yeah.
Someone is asking if he wants to learn the commands, especially
okay.
with where can he learn this? What type of language is it? Okay.
So this is just a Linux command. So you can just type basic Linux commands, right? Basic Linux commands on Google, and you have a lot of them, right?
And for the one for the CLI, the AWS CLI interface also, is it the same Linux command?
Yeah, so for AWS CLI, they are AWS specific commands, right? So you have to just type basic AWS CLI commands, and then you get all of them there. But they all begin with AWS this, AWS. So you see, I typed for IAM, I have AWS IAM list user. So if it's just configuration, you have to do AWS configure, even in the AWS CLI. But if you just type basic AWS CLI, you get all the commands. In fact, all these commands that I was typing, I had to write them down, right? And then, because I forget, you do it once, you don't do it again, so you will definitely forget. Just like how I was struggling with the party, because like it's not something that you are using every day. You know, you do it, you are not working with it, and then you get to forget. Any other question, please? If there is something that I have to go over, I think we can do it quick. It's 10:55. I can do it quick. Let me see this thing. This thing is working. So why? HI. Oh. Please, you can ask your questions. So I'm just trying to figure out why this thing didn't work. You okay? So I think we can end it here. Maybe some of us would want to go over the videos, and then yeah. So you please take your time when you are watching the video. Just take your time, pause, look at what is done, and then yes, continue. Right. So first we looked at creating a Windows server using on EC2, and then connected to it via RDP. We created a VPC, with two subnets, one a public subnet, and then the second one a private subnet in just one availability zone. We created a security group that allowed HTTP and then HTTPS traffic into the VPC, and then we now created an EC2 instance, that is a Linux EC2 instance, to host our web application or our website, right? And then we created another security group that allows SSH traffic, HTTPS, and then HTTP into the EC2 itself, and then also attached it to the EC2. We now launched our EC2 and then access it through the public IPv4 address. And then now we went further to access or connect to our server via SSH using the instance connect and party. Unfortunately, command prompt failed us. I don't know why, but command prompt failed us. I will still look at it why it failed. And then we looked at listing IAM, or we looked at assigning IAM roles to our EC2 to perform basic IAM operations or IAM functions, right? So that's basically what we looked at today. So you can just, when the video is made available, you can look at it and be abreast with what we did. So we'll end the lesson here in the absence of any question. Okay, check like the questions, if they come directly to you or something. So you check then see. If there are no other questions, then we can end the session.
No, I can't see any questions.
Okay.
Oh, we should start calling names. Okay. Number one, AK, any question? Arnold,
No.
any question? Eben, George, Harry, any question?
No question. I just,
Okay.
for me personally, I wish, you see, this is a very good exercise. Although we are following some of the things, like I said earlier, if we slow down a bit, it will be easier to digest. You guys are, let's say, quote unquote, pros a bit. Some of us, this like our first experience with stuff like this. We actually pay attention and sink everything in. It will take doing it a few times to actually follow along with us. So that's why I said slow down. So I just believe that probably in future meetings, if our those leading can maybe take your time a bit more. That's from my side. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Okay. That is well noted. So okay, then it means I was extremely fast. Anyway, so that's well noted. I will look at that in our next sessions. Yes, so
Thank you.
yes.
Rosemond, any question? Ophelia, any question? Ruben, hey, does it mean that you guys are asleep?
The Meru.
Ruben, Philip,
Yeah.
Rubicon, Arnold. Well.
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah, amen.
Yeah. So just as the guy just said, I don't know